Greetings, and well, it's hard to believe, but here we are getting set to begin the seventh week of class, and the topic this week will be profiling. In law enforcement, we make judgments all the time about people based on a variety of factors such as the condition of a vehicle someone is driving or the time of day and area they are driving in, the style of clothing they're wearing, smells coming from the person, or their mannerisms. Police officers use these factors to help them develop reasonable suspicion that a crime is about to, is, or has occurred. A standard that is often applied by the courts is the man of reasonable caution. The man of reasonable caution, such as a police officer, is different from a reasonable man who comes with no preconceived knowledge or bias as it relates to the facts. However, the police officer, in dealing with a set of facts as to whether probable cause exists, is expected to have a certain expertise that will enable the officer to judge those facts. For example, an officer should have street savvy, insofar as understanding language used by drug dealers, be able to detect distinctive odors or drugs, or be able to distinguish features that will enable the officer to know that an offense has been or is being committed. If the officer can give a reason that has any semblance of objectivity, reasonable suspicion can readily be established, and the officer's knowledge and experience can establish reasonable grounds. I'm sure some of you use this phrase yourself if you're working in law enforcement. A standard phrase you will often hear from a police officer is, "based on my experience and training." It is from this reasonable suspicion that an officer begins to look objectively at the totality of the circumstances and whether a reasonable and prudent officer would believe that a crime is being or was committed based upon the facts available at the time. Based on examination of the totality of circumstances, does the officer have enough information, facts, or evidence to move from reasonable suspicion to the level of probable cause in which the threshold is met to the point that the officer may make an arrest? The standards of reasonable suspicion were recognized by the U.S. Supreme Court in Delaware v. Prose and in Yavapai v. Illinois, where the justices used the term reasonable belief. From this point, we begin to examine the argument of racial and behavioral profiling and how they are used in law enforcement, especially the element of racial profiling and as it pertains in the current discourse of immigration enforcement as well as identifying possible terrorists. This week you'll be comparing and contrasting the similarities and differences in how racial and behavioral profiling are used, especially in law enforcement. From the examination of the subjects, each of you will create a PowerPoint presentation and present it to the class by creating a video of your presentation, similar to if you were making an oral presentation in front of the class. My goal is that the following week each of you will comment and critique 2 of your classmates' presentations. When I teach in the classroom, I use this type of assessment, and I feel it is an important one for a variety of reasons. So my goal is to replicate it in the distance learning environment. In short, this is going to be a learning experience for all of us. The textbook this week only covers the area of racial profiling, so it is imperative that you also read the additional source materials and maybe even conduct some of your own research on the subjects as well. I'm really starting to see some great improvement in your discussion question postings and replies as well as in your paper, so keep up the good work. Some of you are starting to get the APA style down, while a few of you really need to look at the APA style manual as well as the examples I have provided. So enjoy your weekend, and I look forward to seeing your Week 6 PowerPoints, which are due on Sunday, as well as your PowerPoints and presentations for this week's activities next week. Have a great time.